Happy holidays, everybody. This is a video I should have put up before Thanksgiving, which has come and gone just a couple of days ago. But I didn't, so here it goes now because Christmas is coming up and so maybe it's relevant. I was on Twitter, which, you should never go on Twitter. Twitter is horrible. But I saw some things before Thanksgiving that were kind of like lists for people who wanted to argue with their relatives. Like, here's how to find the sources to tell your relatives the truth about, whatever it is that you want to tell your relatives the truth about. And I thought one of the things I'm grateful for is that my family, we don't really have too many political arguments, but I understand that's a big deal for a lot of people. And I think probably the best way to deal with that is not to shore up your arguments before you get to the Christmas dinner table, to sit and read a bunch of stuff about how you're going to argue exactly with your relatives over global warming or whatever the hell it is. But to not do that at all. Just go in to your dinner table and have a conversation about whatever you want to converse about. But listen. Listen to what people say. And if somebody says something that you don't understand, then ask, what do you mean by that? Where are we going with this? What you may discover is that you don't actually disagree as much as you think you do. You might find that there are common points in which you agree very strongly, and you can work with those. This is something that Japanese culture kind of emphasizes, and I've even seen this in books about good communication, is rather than focusing on the differences of opinion you have with somebody, you try to find the commonalities. You try to find the things you actually do agree on. And there's always going to be something. And then you build from those things you agree on. You say, I agree with you that, and then you see where you can go with that. Another thing that's been kind of helpful to me is to try to think of my family in the way that ancient Buddhists did. Now, I am skeptical of ideas about reincarnation and rebirth and whatever you want to call it. I don't take them as a given. But I find that if you do hold these kind of views, it makes things look a little different. So let me try to explain. The kind of materialistic viewpoint that we've mostly grown up with in the West has it that a family is composed of sort of random individuals that have nothing in common, maybe nothing in common except genetics. They might be completely different people, and it emphasizes the differences between them. Whereas the Buddhist point of view would kind of take a view that the family is like the fingers of your hand. Like the hand is the unit, and the fingers are the individual sort of thingamabobs that poke out of the hand as a unit. So the family travels together throughout time and space. This is kind of, like I say, take this with a grain of salt, because I certainly do. But the idea is that you were born into the family you were born into because of a karmic connection that you have that goes beyond this individual life. So when you find yourself in a family with whom you have what you feel are great differences, those may be true. But you have this common ground that you sprang up out of. And I think even scientifically this makes sense, because you're coming from the same sort of gene pool and you're growing up in the same environment that they are also living in, even though times change and you might move or whatever, but you're growing up in this kind of greater environment that includes all of you. And you're springing from that and you're coming up with individual takes on it. So we can go back to the hand analogy again. I mean, the thumb and the pinky are both different, and they have a function that they carry out. So the thumb has to be different from the pinky, has to be different from the ring finger and the middle finger and the index finger. But each one, even though they are different, has a role to play in making things possible, in making it possible to grasp. See what I did there? The reality of the situation. So I tend to try to look at it that way. That when I have a difference with my family, that difference is a different way of comprehending the same underlying situation, and that perhaps the difference between me and the other is a difference in functionality, so that we can come together and perform the function efficiently because we have differences between us. This is my kind of point of view of the whole realm of political arguments and so forth that we're having these days, is that we are trying to come together to form a consensus, but it's necessary for the individuals who form that consensus to have different points of view. If everybody had the same point of view, you'd just have a hand with all thumbs. And you know, that's the old expression, right? I'm all thumbs means I can't do anything. So maybe think of it that way. And I hope you have a happy holiday, and I'll try to make more videos because now I'm home and I'm not traveling so much, so I can do it. If you want to support me, that's how I get my support, is from people like you donating, so I'll leave all the information below. Thanks very much for listening. Happy holidays.